Welcome to The Explainer. Today we're looking at a case that is so incredibly baffling, it has forensic experts completely divided. We're talking about the 2015 death of Amanda Antonia. Was this a tragic, one-in-a-million accident, or was it a brutal murder? Because believe me, the evidence points in two totally opposite directions.
So the story really starts with a frantic 911 call. Those 4 words, "there's so much blood," are the first thing the dispatcher hears from Lee Antoni. He'd just gotten home after being away for the weekend, only to find his wife, Amanda, unresponsive in the basement of their home in Calgary.
You know, when first responders got to the house, the scene was so graphic, so violent, that they immediately treated it as a suspicious death. They called in the homicide unit right away, because to them, it looked like a clear-cut murder investigation.
Okay, so here's the timeline. Lee was out of town, which was actually the first time that had happened in their marriage, so Amanda was home all alone. Her death seems to have happened right around the time of this final, kind of strange phone call with him, which means, and this is just heartbreaking, she was likely lying injured in that house for almost 48 hours before anyone found her. Before we dive into all the forensic details, I think it's really important we remember who we're talking about. Amanda was only 31 years old. She was this vibrant person, a talented artist who absolutely adored animals. Her loss just left this massive hole in her community, and her family, as you can imagine, is still desperate for answers.
So after a really long 14-month investigation, the Calgary Police Service came out with a conclusion that just floored everyone, especially Amanda's family. They officially ruled her death an accident. The big question is, how did they go from what looks like an obvious homicide to that? Well, the police theory really centered on 3 key things. First, Amanda suffered from terrible migraines, which could have easily made her dizzy and lose her balance. Second, they brought in a biomechanics expert who said, yes, her specific head injuries were consistent with a really complex, tragic fall down those stairs. And maybe the most crucial piece for them was what's called negative evidence, the total absence of anything pointing to someone else being there. No foreign DNA, no strange fingerprints, nothing. Okay, but, and this is a huge but, the physical evidence inside that house told a completely different story. It was a violent story, one that really seemed to scream that this was no accident, but a terrifying fight for her life.
Let's start with probably the single most baffling piece of evidence. At the top of the basement stairs, investigators found a complete paradox, a clue that is so illogical, it pretty much defies any simple explanation. Just think about that for a second. The piggy bank itself is shattered, but it's somehow still sitting on the shelf. At the same time, pieces of that exact same bank are downstairs, around Amanda's body. I mean, that is physically impossible if she just fell past it. It strongly suggests the bank was either used as a weapon or it was broken during a struggle right there at the top of the stairs. And the next piece of evidence is, honestly, even more haunting. The scene down in the basement proved that Amanda didn't die instantly. She was conscious, she was mobile after she was injured, and that raises this chilling fundamental question about her final hours. Right there, at the bottom of the steps, were these 2 bloody footprints. They prove Amanda was able to stand up and face the stairs after her injury. She was alive. She was capable of moving. So why, with her beloved dog just feet away on the floor above, did she never take a single step up those stairs to get help? And the whole house just seemed wrong. Her cell phone was broken. A dining chair was knocked over. Her last words to her husband on that phone call were her yelling at her dog Ruby, who was barking like crazy. And maybe the strangest thing, the pets. For almost 2 days, they never, not once, went near that basement. Now, with a scene that looked so violent, police, of course, immediately looked at Amanda's husband, Lee. But his alibi, well, it was as rock solid as they come. Cell phone pings, bank records, multiple family members, they all put him an 8-hour drive away in a different province. So if this was a murder, he didn't do it. So you have this deep, deep conflict in the evidence. And that led to something pretty extraordinary and really rare, a public disagreement between the official agencies that were investigating her death. They just could not get on the same page about what happened.
This almost never happens. You've got the police closing the case and ruling it an accident. But then you have the chief medical examiner's office, the people who actually did the autopsy, and they refused to do that. To this day, they maintain her cause of death is undetermined, which leaves the door wide open to the possibility of homicide.
So the case was officially closed, but it was far from resolved.
After years of these unanswered questions, Amanda's family and even the police decided to take a pretty drastic step. They were hoping that maybe, just maybe, millions of new eyes could finally help crack this thing. And that brings us to July of 2024, when the death of Amanda Antoni became the focus of an episode of the Netflix series Unsolved Mysteries. It was called Body in the Basement, and it launched this deeply confusing local case onto the global stage.
What's really interesting is that even with their official ruling from back in 2016, all this new publicity prompted the Calgary police to release a new statement. They acknowledged that, yeah, questions remain, and they said they are relentless in their pursuit of justice, even publicly asking for new information to come in.
And so that's where the case is today. It's a total forensic puzzle. On one hand, you've got a complete lack of any outside DNA, which points to a tragic accident. But on the other hand, the physical evidence in the house tells a story of a violent, terrifying struggle. It's a case where the line between a freak accident and a brutal murder is just impossibly and hauntingly blurred.